January is divorce month. Hi Thrivers, if you're watching this in January, there's a reason this topic feels heavy and unavoidable right now. January is often called divorce month, when emails pour in, when families say out loud what they've been quietly carrying for months or even years. It's not something that suddenly happens in January. It's that people waited. They waited through the holidays. They waited through family photos. They waited through one more Christmas morning, one more New Year's resolution, one more internal promise that maybe things would feel differently after the calendar turned. And then the noise stopped. The decorations came down, the distractions faded, and what was already broken became impossible to ignore. If that's where you are right now, I want to say this first. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are not failing because you don't know what to do or where to start. And you're not required to burn your life to the ground just because your marriage is ending. Just because you're divorcing does not mean you have to destroy someone you once loved. It does not mean your children, your finances, or your future have to become collateral damage. Most people don't plan for divorce. There's no class, no roadmap, no instruction manual. So when fear hits, people default to the loudest advice they hear. Protect yourself, file first, call a divorce attorney, you need a pit bull, don't trust anything they say. And listen, that instinct makes sense. Divorce threatens everything at once. Your financial stability, your housing, your time with your children, your sense of identity, your future. Fear wants certainty. Fear wants control. Fear wants someone to take over and tell you what to do. But fear is also a terrible strategist. Fear pushes people into rigid positions that end up costing them more emotionally, financially, and rationally. And this is where I see things go sideways quickly. Divorce is not a morality contest. One of the biggest misconceptions people carry into divorce is this idea. If I behaved better, I should get more. If they hurt me, the system will make it right. If I sacrifice enough, it'll be recognized. That's not how divorce works. Divorce is not about who was the better spouse. It's not about who loved harder. It's not about who was hurt more. The legal system does not reward good behavior or punish bad behavior the way people imagine that it might. And when people negotiate from a place of emotional injury, anger, betrayal, fear, they often take positions that are deeply counterproductive to their long-term well-being. They say things like, I'll never agree to that. I don't care what it costs. I deserve this. What they don't see yet is how expensive those positions can become. One of the most important things I want you to hear today is this. Divorce is a financial decision-making process, not just an emotional one. And when you surround yourself with the right professionals early, people who can help you understand the financial consequences of each option, everything changes. Not because emotions disappear, but because emotions no longer get to run the show. When you understand the numbers, the trade-offs, the timelines, and the realities, you negotiate differently. You stop reacting, you start choosing. So let me explain where I fit into this, because this is often misunderstood. I'm a divorce mortgage specialist. So what does that mean? That means that my role is not to convince you to keep the house. It's not to push you into selling it. My role is to help you understand the real financial impact of your housing decisions before they're written into your settlement agreement. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. Divorce agreements and mortgage guidelines do not always align. On paper, something may look fair. In reality, it may be impossible to execute. I help people answer questions like, can I actually afford to keep the house on my post-divorce income? Will spousal or child support count for qualification? And when? What happens to my buying power if I give up this asset? What does refinancing really cost? Not just emotionally, but financially. What does selling now versus later actually mean? When people understand these things early, they make better agreements. And when they don't, they often end up stuck, stressed, or forced into decisions they never wanted. Here's something I see again and again. People come to me highly emotional, scared, angry, overwhelmed, and that makes complete sense. But once they understand their real options, something shifts. Their nervous system settles, their posture changes, their negotiations become more thoughtful. They stop fighting imagined threats and start addressing real ones, and that's powerful because divorce negotiations aren't about winning. They're about building a structure you can actually live inside. When you don't understand your financial picture, everything feels threatening. Every proposal feels like a loss. Every compromise feels dangerous. And when you know the numbers, you gain leverage, not over the other person, but over your own fear. You can say, that works, and here's why. That doesn't work long term, and here's what would. I'm open to this if we adjust that. That's a very different energy than reacting from hurt. And it often leads to more reasonable outcomes for everyone involved. If children are part of your story, this is critical. Divorce does not end your relationship with the other parent, it transforms it. You're not dissolving a family, you're reinventing it. And this is a relationship you'll be in for the rest of your life. Graduations, weddings, holidays, emergencies, grandchildren. The tone you set now becomes the tone your children live with for years. Co-parenting doesn't start after the paperwork is signed. It starts with how you speak to each other now, how you negotiate now, how you regulate now. When parents are supporting each other early, emotionally and financially, they are far more capable of showing up calmly for their children. One of the most important things I want you to normalize is this. January does not mean you have to rush. You do not need to file tomorrow. You do not need to make permanent decisions in the middle of emotional overwhelm. You do not need to choose sides or burn bridges to be taken seriously. What you need is clarity before action, support before escalation, information before negotiation. There is another way through this. I've seen people go through divorce with dignity, with intention, with a future-focused mindset, not because it was easy, but because they slowed down long enough to make informed decisions. January may be divorce month, but it does not have to be destruction month. You can choose a path that protects your children, that preserves your financial future, that allows you to leave the marriage without losing yourself. If you're at the very beginning and you don't know what the first step is or should be, let it be understanding, not fear. Stay here and subscribe so I can keep sharing guidance that actually helps. And if the house or the financial side of this is what's keeping you up at night, just reach out. There is a way through this that doesn't require burning everything down, and you don't have to figure it out alone. Thanks so much for watching.